Hi everybody, Mike B here. This is Don't Get Your Hopes Up, and I'm on the phone here with Joshua Allen, aka Lore.
Oh,
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I appreciate that you've asked. It wasn't in the notes that you would ask, and so it kind of caught me off guard.
It wasn't.
I wasn't sure how to respond to that.
Yeah. Sorry. I've been living at work lately. I have like a million videos to get done, and my boss was like, "These all have to be ready in time for 6.0 launch," and I was like, "Don't get your hopes up."
So, slow clap. That's good. It made sense. So wait, a million. I can only imagine. I mean, like, I know that you guys have been taking a much more forward approach with video content, especially since you came on board. They really started taking off.
Yeah, well, I came on board and I immediately was like, we need to be doing more videos. I'm gonna start making videos.
That's like, oh yeah, yeah. That's pretty much one of the first things I did when I went on Zam too. It was like, we need to start doing more videos. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess there's a whole lot of other stuff I should be doing too. Okay, fine. But yeah, I can imagine with all the stuff that's changing in 6.0 that you're definitely going to need to have at least a couple.
Yeah. Well, so like we have, I have 3 major projects that are in the works, and I can tell people about 2 of them.
Ooh.
I don't know if I can tell people about the other.
Third one's Titan.
There's no
confirmed.
Real...
Sorry.
Yes, exactly. No. Well, the other one, I don't know if it's cool to talk about or not, so I'm gonna err on the side of not getting fired.
I guess.
It's nothing super spectacular, but I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so the 2 projects that are actually due sooner anyway, need to be ready in time for 6.0. And so I did the Crash Course video series a while back.
Mm-hmm.
All of those have to be updated for 6.0.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one video per class, but on top of that, it has to be localized into like 15 total different regions, which is really just a butt ton of editing.
Yeah.
Like putting different ratings logos in, rendering for the rest of my natural life, etc. Plus the fact that a lot of the classes weren't in a state yet to where I could even start working on them until very recently. So that was cool. And then the other one is just like a patch 6.0 preview sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
That's just kind of like, here's everything that changed in patch 6.0. Here's why you can't find your toys anymore and stuff like that. So
You took away
those all have to be done.
You took away our toys in 6.0?
Well, they're going into a toy box.
Oh, fine.
Yes.
Put your toys
you put
away.
your toys in the toy box. And those they all have to be done in time for like localization and like sound editing. Like our sound department's going to do a full pass on them, and like they have to get approved by everybody, which basically means they all need to be done like 2 weeks ago. So I live at work right now. So that's cool.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, we launched a Destiny site.
That's cool.
Which has been definitely eating up lots of time. There's a lot of stuff's been happening in Destiny actually since launch. Besides the fact that we've been playing it, I've been PvPing primarily. I actually found out after the fact that I beat the game. I guess I didn't know. I did a mission and it was a long cinematic and I got a gun. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Some loot or something. And then it was like, all right, that's it. And I was like, oh, that was... I guess I'll go back to PvPing now. I haven't even unlocked whatever planet that was. I did that because I went with somebody. I've been rolling with friends. And so we do all the strikes and all that stuff. And so it's like, I have this really amazing experience with friends who are good at the game. And we completed stuff. And I did all the strikes. And then I beat the game. I didn't even know it. And that's it. How has your experience been so far?
Good job. My experience so far has been like 100% solo. Actually, real quick before we go into this, we should mention what's going on with the RSS thing because people always ask.
We always forget to.
Yeah. So RSS, iTunes, what's up with that?
All right. So here's the deal with that. To be honest, I have not had time to go through and figure out what the F with this whole iTunes thing. I did everything that I was supposed to do initially, and this shit's not up there. So I don't know what the follow-up is, and I have not had the opportunity to go and do it. Obviously, besides Destiny launching and working with those guys, we're doing a lot of stuff on our other sites. LOL King's getting a crazy facelift. We're working on a number of other things I can't talk about, but there's just like a lot of stuff. And so I just have not. You know, it's funny. You say you live at work. It's like, oh, I work where I live, and I've also been living at work at the same time. It's like my kid comes home and he's like ringing the doorbell, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and he doesn't know what it does. He just knows it makes noise, right? And I don't even hear it. I'm just up here, just headphones on, working still, like into the evening. It sucks, but that's the reason why the iTunes thing has not been resolved. Maybe I think, But the good news is, if you have iTunes, which if you're waiting for the iTunes version, you probably have iTunes. There's a link that should be accompanying this particular video or audio feed. It should be below, and it will be something along the lines of mikeb.it/feedburner or something. That link is going to go to a page that has a gigantic logo. And then you scroll down, and there's a whole bunch of links to like various different ways that you could, take the RSS feed, whatever. And one of them is iTunes. You can add the RSS feed, or click on the button there if you want to on that page, and it will add an entry into your iTunes for this show. I know it works because I did it from the first day, and I was like, oh, cool, we're on iTunes. And then I realized, oh, I can't search for us. Okay, so we're not on iTunes, and that was pretty much the end of that. But if you do use iTunes for your podcasting and whatnot, you can use the FeedBurner link, which should be below. I'll make sure to put it below. And click on the little button that says iTunes. You click on that. It'll open up iTunes, and then it'll load up there, and then that's it. We are effectively on iTunes. The only thing you won't be able to do is give us a review because we're not really on iTunes. Even though we know you would give us 5 stars and say all those wonderful things about us in general. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah. Cool. So anyway, Destiny. I haven't had a ton of time to play it really, but I was like streaming a bunch of it earlier, and actually last week too I was streaming a bunch of it, and like I really like the game still, as long as I stick to either the PvP or like patrols and stuff,
like the random events.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, well, or like patrols.
Okay.
Just like picking up missions and running around, or even like the storyline quests, as I haven't done all those yet.
Yeah.
I really hate the strikes.
Oh man.
I really, it's the boss fights are just so boring.
Which ones have you done? Because
I've done the first one.
Oh, the Earth one's terrible. Oh my god, the Earth one is like the worst one. That's why it rhymes. See, that's how you know. Earth and worst.
Oh. See. Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't done any other ones. I'll have to give them a try still. I know that I did one with when I did the Earth one, I did it with my friend, and afterwards he was like, "Oh yeah, the what's the name? The Moon one is way worse." And I was very disheartened by that. So since then I've just been like, well, I'm enjoying everything else that I do in this game, so there's no real reason for me to bother going and trying something that I've been told isn't very good. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe he's full of shit, and I will definitely give it a try. I'm not like, my intention is not to never do them. It's just I'm basically waiting for somebody to say, no, it's not that bad at all. Then I'm like, okay, fine.
Oh, I remember the Moon one. Okay. So that one's also pretty bad. and yeah, I can't rhyme anything with that, but yes.
Yeah, I've just been seeing so many people like saying the same thing that I maybe everybody that's saying it also like hasn't moved on to Venus or Mars or anything like that. But like at least the one that I've done, and apparently the one on the Moon as well, like the boss fights are just so boring. Like, ugh.
Wait, but you haven't done the Moon
challenge.
One yet. You haven't done the Moon one yet, though.
I haven't done the Moon one yet.
Okay,
no.
Okay.
But if you're saying that it's also bad,
like, so I'll have to describe it actually a little bit. I think it's a little unfair for me to say that it's just bad. So the Earth one, the worst part about it is that stupid spider bot thing that you have to fight. That it just has so much health, And you sit there and
Yeah.
you shoot his legs, and you shoot his legs, and you shoot his legs, and it's like, oh shit, son, I stepped on my toe and it falls over. Then you shoot it in the brain or something, I don't know. And you have to do that like 17 times. And
yeah,
like,
it takes like half an hour.
yeah, and all I do, like, there's no skill involved. Like, the other two people that I'm with that are randoms, they're out there just flapping, just doing their own thing, right? And me, I'll go into there's a little, if you're facing the boss on the right-hand side, very close to him. Yeah, there's a little cave there. Yeah, exactly. He can't shoot you there if you stay up on the hill. And you can just basically sit there and just pump shit in. The only time you have to leave is when you have to go get ammo, and that's pretty much it. I wouldn't even bother rezzing any of your friends, because it doesn't even matter. They're going to res themselves and come back. That is a horrific fight because there is no skill involved.
It's not good.
The last
and like the just talking about that fight for a second, the concern that I have about it, like thinking with my game designer hat on, I would say, oh, well, clearly the problem with this is that you can hide in this corner, so we should remove the ability to hide in that corner. But that boss, like, if you can't hide from it, it just kills you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the second that it can see you, you die.
Yeah.
So
you could do some creative running, but if it hits anything near you, like the blast radius of his attack is too much.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that makes me think that they were like just watching data on it, and like, I don't know, maybe this happens all the time in game development. Like, your UX guys will come back and be like, this isn't very good, and you like look at the data from a beta test or something, and you're like, well, actually a whole ton of people finished it, so it must be fine. Not realizing that all of those people that finished it were doing the same exact thing. And like, when you've designed an encounter, you always run into the encounter and you're like, yeah, this is how you do this, and you go and you do it how you think you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's a really tough, challenging fight, and it's really, really, really hard. And what do you mean there's a corner you can sit in and you just shoot at him?
Yeah, pretty much. But the Moon Strike, that last boss also has a lot of health. I did it twice. I've done it twice. I did it once when I was level 7, which is way too low. And I died 53 times or something. My entire role in that, because I was running with a couple of guys from ZAM. I don't know if you remember Spiffy and Leighton, right? I'm running with these guys, and they're like level 12, and I'm level 7 or some shit. We're in a room, and we could see the boss is a giant, like, ogrish type character, and he basically walks around this small area in like an arena type setup. He spawns a ton of ads, like wizards and knights and stuff, like all over the place, and so we stay in this room just shooting out this door. The problem is, inside of this room, there's this thing that spawns called like a screecher or something. I have no idea, but basically it's in the air, it spawns, and then it just shoots a bunch of shit, which one-shots me. Everything one-shots me. And so my job was to basically die, and then tell them that I died. But a lot of times they could just see that I died, and they would know that thing's in the room. They would turn around, kill it, res me, and then that's it, like resetting the alarm. It's like the snooze button, essentially. That was my job. I was the snooze button of this fight. That was terrible. It took like 40 minutes or something like that to clear that boss, because it was just us staying in this thing. And we were like, you know what, maybe it's easier better if we go out. If we go out and do stuff. And we go out, and of course, because I'm terrible, we get slaughtered because I can't support the team. I went back again as like a level 15 defender, maybe it's level 16 or something, Titan defender. Made all the difference in the world. I went back, and it was actually a fun fight because it was hard. The boss did take it took a lot to take him down. It's hard to say if the fight was too long because we kept changing up our strategy. It was like, first let's clear the ads. Oh shit, the ads won't stop. All right, well let's just focus the boss. Oh, well now there's a lot of ads, and so it was a lot of that going back and forth. But it was actually challenging, and it was actually really exciting because you can only hide behind so many things from this giant ogre's laser beam mouth thing, right? And being a Titan defender, I could throw down my shield whenever it's like an oh shit moment. And my buddies can jump in, and then we can kind of be shielded for like, if it's in direct fire for like 5 seconds, maybe tops. But it's really great against defending against the wizards and the spawns and everything, and we're able to kind of clear through them. But it was actually pretty challenging. So it is like considerably better than the Earth challenge, Earth Strike. But there's other fights that I've had so far that have definitely been much more complicated and way, way more either exciting or just strategically difficult. But nothing has been like groundbreaking. Not like the Vault of Glass stuff that I've seen. Like apparently that stuff is like super complicated, both in obviously difficulty when you're requiring coordination and whatnot. But like it has like raid boss, like WoW raid boss style mechanics where it just randomly teleport people to like some room or some shit. It's crazy.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm interested to try out the raids. I've been kind of turned off of the idea, A, because I'm not level 20 yet, and B, I'm 18. I'm getting there. Actually, close to 19. Oh, so exciting. I've been leveling up my sunsinger because I was like looking through the sunsinger talent tree, and I saw the one that says, when you aim while you're in the air, you get to sit still for a second and fire. And I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. And like now I'm going to talk about Sunsinger for a second because it's so much fun.
Do it.
The ultimate Sunsinger ability, like, first you make yourself glow for like, it's like 10, 15 seconds or something like that. And it reduces your grenade cooldown to 1 second. So you pop the ultimate and you just throw grenades just constantly.
Wait,
it's amazing.
If I'm right, is that the one that also your teammates have a reduced cooldown as well?
Yeah, if you take that talent, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It also, like, there's 3 talents for it. There's that one which reduces your teammates' cooldowns. There's another one that gives you a massive like defensive bonus when you use it. And then there's another one that's you can use it while you're dead and it revives you.
I've seen that. And it's like, and I've seen emo Jojo does it.
Yeah.
And it's great in PvP.
Yeah, it seems amazing in PvP because like that in the combination of your grenades suddenly being off cooldown, like all the time, it seems like you could be in PvP. You can run it at a node and die, and then pop back up, and they're not going to realize that you're there right away, and you can get off 2 or 3 grenades. Oh my god, I did a Crucible match earlier with just the normal one. Like I didn't even have any of the talents for it yet. And just being able to chuck grenades everywhere is so awesome.
It's making it rain.
It's making it rain.
What kind of grenades do you have as a Sunsinger?
So you have the first one that you get it's kind of like the base Warlock one, the Voidwalker basic one. And it's okay. It's not terrible. It's a little bit better than the Vortex grenade that the Voidwalker has. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head for the Sunsinger. I don't remember the name of either of them off the top of my head for the Sunsinger. Maybe I would go to www.destinydb.com.
Hey. That was pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like they all have like their own weird functions. Like I don't remember what mine do either. Like as a Titan, it's like one of them like basically explodes twice. The other one is a sticky grenade. I think I may have messing one of those up. And one of them is a sticky grenade that explodes twice for sure. And the other one's like a geyser or something. Like you plant it somewhere and it shoots out like a beam of light in whatever direction that wall is facing. It attaches to any surface. So that's good for like I guess like kind of locking down a tunnel or something. But yeah, I mean, there's only so many different mechanics you could really have. But one of them. Yeah. Go ahead. You found it?
Yeah, I found it. So there's the solar grenade, which you basically throw something and it makes a sun, and it looks really cool and it does tons of damage, but like the people move out of it and then they don't take damage anymore. So you basically have to land it right directly on them to really get any weight out of it. The second one is amazing, especially with the ultimate, because it lands and explodes and it has this like big ring that comes out, and the ring is huge. It's like how do I even describe range in Destiny? It's big enough that if you throw it at a group of things and they run away from, like, if you hit
control,
something,
the node and control.
It's definitely bigger than an entire control node.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty massive. It's big enough that you can, if you land it at something's feet and it immediately starts running away from. Here's another good example. If you hit one of the captains with it, one of the fallen captains, and they do their little teleport thing, they still get hit by it.
Wow.
Yeah, well, like they can't teleport far enough away to not get hit. And it's like when you can just chuck those things constantly during the ultimate radiance, then you just damage all over the place. It's awesome. And it's really fun to clear out like control nodes with it because just like I'm lob grenades in this room because who cares?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just
floating everywhere
all day long.
And then the other one is a sticky grenade.
Yeah, sticky grenade. Okay, yeah, because I know some of them overlap. Sticky grenades, like that's like probably the most rewarding one, right? Because like if you throw a sticky grenade and you kill somebody without hitting them, it's like, okay, well I threw a grenade and I killed somebody. But when you stick them,
yeah,
it feels so good.
There's no getting away from it at that point, and I'm like, well, shit.
I want to shake it off. Nope, screwed.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, yeah. I'm level 20. I'm working on my light gear right now. I haven't had a chance to play all day.
Nice.
But I had a couple nights there for free, and I was able to just basically just get in there and just play and just do as much as I could. And we streamed actually last night. Streamed a little bit for like the first time in a long time. Like woohoo!
Woo!
But
I was streaming a little bit earlier.
But what sucks is that when I stream, I'm terrible. Like I had like one good game out of like 7, but when I'm by myself, it's like, I mean, I still do bad sometimes, but like, but at least there's like some kind of dynamic, right? Like one game I'll like do like clutch shit like left and right, and the next game I'll do like clinch shit left and right. So it's like there was dynamic there, but yeah, that's what happens when you stream, I guess.
So I have a question. Seeing as how you're level 20,
yeah,
what are Orbs of Light good for?
So the way it works is, wait, you mean the light on your gear, the light stat?
Not the light on your gear, the orbs of light that you generate. Like a thing will pop up and it'll say, "Lord generated 4 orbs of light." Or whatever.
Well, that's something that that's available to anybody that has an ultimate. So when you blow an ultimate, you basically skeet orbs all over the place. And I don't know what the number is versus what the ultimate is or whatever. But I know that as a Titan Defender, I have a number of talents that will, or I think maybe 1 or 2 talents that will basically allow me to secrete more orbs than normal based off of whatever ability that I'm using at the time or something like that.
Yeah, Sunsinger has one of those too, where if you kill an enemy with your melee ability, it can generate an orb of light.
So what the light does, you pick it up and it basically feeds back into your ultimate.
Oh,
so that's why when you look at the composition, the raid composition for it's hard to say that about like a 6-man group, but sure. You look at the composition for that group that cleared both groups actually that cleared the Vault of Glass first. They had I think 3 Titan Defenders on each team, and I could see why. Like if you have a number of people that could basically generate orbs all day for you to get for you to be able to bust out your ultimates, and then in turn they could turn around and pick up your orbs and then regain more of the energy and do it again. That definitely sounds like a formula for success.
Yeah, for sure.
They call ultimates for a reason. They're powerful when you could use them over and over again.
Yeah. So yeah, Destiny's pretty good. We're still playing it.
Which is, I mean, there's been a lot
like
of...
that's kind of the it's kind of the point. Like we were talking last week about like the review scores and everything, and how it's like, oh, it's a 6 out of 10, but like everybody is still talking about it and still playing it, and like it seems like if you're playing a game this much, can you like isn't the point of a game to be something that entertains you? If it's still entertaining you at this point, I don't care what reasons you give for why it's a bad game or a less than optimal game. Like, so important thing to mention here, actually, that I found was really interesting about this whole situation, is Ben Kuchera, who's with Polygon. He's one of their head editors. I don't remember exactly what his title is. He wrote an opinion piece on Polygon that basically read like another review of Destiny to me. And
but it was
one of the interesting one of the interesting things that he said at the end of it was I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he said something like, I still think Destiny is a 6 out of 10, but it's a really good 6 out of 10. And I read that and I went, what? You have a scale here. Like, if it's better than a 6 out of 10, if it's better than an average 6 out of 10, then call it like a 6.5 or something. I don't know. Like,
well, if it's better than average, then technically I would make it a 6.5 or 6.6, 6.51 perhaps.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm like rallying about how the review scores for Destiny are bullshit or anything like that. Like I don't care about review scores. I really don't. The only reason that I think anybody who's in the game development industry cares about review scores is because it affects where funding goes. Like, if the Metacritic reviews for a game bomb, it doesn't get a sequel. It doesn't get updates and so on. I don't think that at all there's any reason to suspect that Destiny getting a 6 out of 10 means there aren't going to be updates.
Yeah, exactly. I would add that if the game bombs and gets a low score and then nobody plays it, that's when it doesn't get anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If a game gets a low score and everybody plays it and everybody that plays it is enjoying it, then you kind of have to go, huh? What even is the point of review scores? Like, why was that number even there?
You know, review scores, like, you really have to take it with a grain of salt. Like, review scores are kind of silly. They're just there for the people that are just lazy. They just don't want to do it. They don't want to, it's like, oh, how many balls in your mouth out of 5 or whatever, right? Like, they just want to know, just tell me, right? But the reason why we picked apart polygons is because they actually have a very, very, detailed write-up as to what their scoring system, how it works. And we disagreed with the way that they scored it versus...
Based on their own scale.
Exactly, yeah. The Metacritic score being whatever it is, like, that doesn't even... Metacritic is, like, useless for, like, almost everything.
Metacritic is something that producers look at, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then everybody else looks at it because they know the producers are going to look at it.
I know, what a weird vicious cycle. But it's definitely. I was telling Cody the other day, I was like, at first. So when we first started talking about doing a Destiny site, I was all like, no, because it was console, right? It was like I love Bungie, right? Marathon, Pathways into Darkness, I believe it was called. Like, I loved their games, and I was like, yeah, it's probably gonna be a great game. Is a game we should build a site for? I don't know. But then I was gone, and the decision was made to do it, and I was a little upset because I wasn't there for it, and they apologized and whatever. But it was kind of a fun. It's funny the way we decide to build sites. Like, we all play the games, and we all kind of sit down. We have like a round table, but I was unavailable, so it was totally like I wasn't there. But
every once in a while, a designer in his free time just makes a site and
exactly,
okay,
exactly,
cool.
And that's exactly what happened. We have a guy. We have a bunch of devs on the team that do this kind of stuff, but one in particular, and this is how this whole thing started. On the weekend that I was gone, he was like, "Hey, you know what? I can actually build a talent calculator for this," and he did, and he did it in like no time flat. Just boom, just busted it out.
Yeah,
and the guys were like, this is awesome. And we have all this data, and we have access to basically anything you want. Let's build a site. And of course, I get back, it's like, what do you mean you're going to build a site without any other information, right? And they're like, look at all the stuff we got. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm an asshole. All right, there we go. but it's just one of those things where it's like, now I'm like, like, this is totally like a sleeper hit game. Like, and it's hard to say sleeper hit. When I say that, I basically attribute it to the scores. Like, if you look at the scores, if you're one of those guys who only looks at like the number, you're not going to buy this game. But if you actually go through the reviews and talk to friends and everything, you'll see that this game is indeed, in essence, a numbered rating scale sleeper hit.
Yeah, it's interesting because like it was so hyped, and like people were buying. Like, I bought my PS4 to play Destiny. Like, I probably wouldn't have bothered. I was going to get one eventually, regardless. But I was like, no, I need to get it soon because Destiny. And then I was like, wait, I need to get it even sooner because Ultimate Evil Edition. But like, regardless, I bought my PS4 largely because I knew Destiny was coming, and it's a game that had just tons of hype before launch, and people were so stoked for it. And then it came out, and the review scores were kind of meh, and people were like, "Oh, Destiny. Now I can't like Destiny anymore." Was sort of the general feeling, I think, as people were like, "I guess I should be disappointed by this." I guess the like, it's so weird how a review score can do that, where you see, oh, this game that I really like and am enjoying is a 6 out of 10, I guess I'm wrong, and it's not that good. I guess I don't really enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know what a good game is, so I shouldn't play it.
Yeah. And then, but then, like, people keep playing it, and it's still, like, getting tons and tons and tons of playtime. And, like, the fact that there's more content on the way and everything, I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, I can see where you're coming from with the, like, sleeper hit sort of thing. Because it's a game that, at this point, I think a lot of people expected to be a flash in the pan sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Where, the game came out, and it sold a bajillion copies and made a ton of money, and then people stopped playing it because it sucked. Why haven't they stopped playing it yet? It sucks. Obviously, it sucks. Look at the review scores. Why are you people still playing this game?
Yeah, I can also add in there, this is public information, but like this site, DestinyDB.com, has actually not stopped gaining ground in traffic since we launched. That is extremely unusual, especially coming from, we're a company that covers, mostly MMOs. And usually what happens at MMOs, we all know this. This is like, I'm preaching to the choir here. It launches, it's super huge. A week later or whatever, there's a huge dip. There's always tons of hype at the beginning. Everyone wants to try it. They get in, they play it for like 6 hours, and they're like, oh, it's not for me. And then they leave. Yeah.
Or you get in, you play it, and you finish it, and you're like, I've done everything in here that I wanted to do, and I'm done now.
Exactly. And if I look at the kind of the trend with like some of our other sites, well specifically I'll say ESO, there's always it's that you could just set your watch by it, man. Like, you look at it and you're just like, okay, we're launching, we're gonna have a massive spike when the game launches, and a week later there it goes, it's gone. And that's basically the way it works.
Get ready to pull resources from servers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting, but to see Destiny like this, it's like, holy crap. Because after a couple weeks after ESO hit, it was like, God, we have all these features. We had a couple of things we want to put in. And we did it. We still did it because we had to have kind of obligation to do it, of course, right? But we were definitely like, okay, But now Destiny, it's like, dude, we just gotta keep throwing shit at it. Just keep on going.
What else can we think of that will make people want to come to this site?
Yeah, and every idea that any one of us come up with, like, we try to flesh it out and see if it's something we could build into, like, into a feature. And it's great to be able to do that with a game because, besides like League and World of Warcraft and, I would even say like Warframe. Like, Warframe was a game that continually grew for forever and ever. Like, you just don't get that kind of growth over time.
Yeah. Well, and even in WoW, like, an expansion comes out, there's always a big spike, or a raid tier or whatever. Something happens, there's a big spike for a while, and then people trail off because they've finished what they set out to do. And that's just sort of the natural life cycle of MMOs, really. Anything with a steady like, the same thing will eventually happen with Destiny, too. Like, they'll come out with some expansion, people will play it, they'll finish what they wanted to do. And it, like, looking back at WoW, even as an example, it's crazy the number of people who buy a new expansion, get to the new level cap, and stop playing. Like, and they do it consistently every single time. For them, the game is getting to max level. And so they say, they were disappointed in the last couple of expansions where there was only a 5-level increase because they wanted to have more levels. Like, that's the game for them. It's not it's not a majority of the player base by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a good number of people that play like that.
Exactly. And that's enough. What's funny, for some of them, that's actually enough.
Yeah. Like, they're perfectly happy. I love World of Warcraft. Every time an expansion comes out, I play it for a couple of weeks. I love that game.
Exactly.
And you're like that's the sort of thing that you're like, wait, what?
Those people really do exist.
Yeah.
They're in it for the story, or they're in it for just to say that they did it, or whatever it is. But they're all that matters at the end. They're content with that kind of gameplay.
It's like the people that buy Call of Duty for the single player campaign. Like, they exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're weird,
exactly.
But they exist.
Yeah, they're totally weird. They make no freaking sense. But exactly. So that's Destiny in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Definitely the game of the month.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, for sure. And then next month we got WoW 6.0 sometime next month. Fingers crossed.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Well, there has to be, otherwise the expansion won't come out.
That could be a problem.
So yeah, next month. But there's also So a car alarm going off outside. There's also the Borderlands pre-sequel next month that I'm really looking forward to. I freaking love Borderlands. Which isn't on PS4 or Xbox One for some bizarre reason. It's on PS3 and 360 and PC, so I'm gonna play it on PC. But what the hell, Gearbox?
Yeah, do they want to be like? Is it just like they get the last word in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you can't be done with this until we say you're done with it. Okay, you're done with this. I'm sure they'll have the like Borderlands pre-sequel enhanced edition come out in like Q2 2015 or something.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff. I mean, in October, Jesus. Alien Isolation actually comes out. There's a lot of hype around that. I'm not really big into like horror games, but like, I grew up on Alien movies, so obviously the last Alien didn't do so well, so it'd be kind of neat to have a good one.
I don't really like those sort of games myself either. Like, it's just like I see why people like them, but the like, oh, it's scary. That's just not a feeling that I enjoy. It's like saying, oh man, this game is so good, you get so scared. Is like saying, oh man, shoving knives into your arms is so good because it's so painful, and this is not an enjoyable feeling. Why would you subject yourself to this?
Some of it is exciting though. I mean, like, you played Amnesia, right?
I have not played Amnesia.
Oh man,
I own Amnesia. I've never even installed it.
I owned it for a long ass time, and then I played it for the first time, not as me. Played as Darnell, and it was fucking scary.
I worry about myself if I was playing Amnesia. Just to put things into perspective, I get moments of terror when I'm playing freaking Minecraft. like I turn around and there's a zombie and I'm like, ah!
You're that bone clank. You're that bone clank, and you're like, oh god, where's it coming from?
Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Yeah.
It's true,
or like
man,
there's a creeper and I just run for ages. I don't even turn around and look. I'm just running. Like, no.
Whatever that like moaning sound. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like
so simple. Like it's like they just made it so simple that, and that's the reason why it's so popular, that you fill in the gaps with your imagination.
Yeah.
And
seriously, I was playing a Minecraft clone on Android for just the tip a while back. And you can go and look up this episode. It like, I go back and look at it, I go, what is wrong with me? Like, I was playing it and night fell and I heard a wolf and I just freaked out and like hid for the entire nighttime period.
There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of really big stuff coming up for me anyways. Little
Big Planet 3, man.
Oh god.
In November.
Hey, GTA 5 comes out again in November.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out in November. WoW expansion in November.
That's gonna be that. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's gonna be the one for me, pretty much.
Yeah.
Go through, get to max level, and then get out.
Well, hit level 100.
You know how we do. I mean,
guess I'm done here.
It's funny. Like, there's and I'm not trying to like pander to Blizzard or anything, but there's so much shit to do that like you don't have to do it in sequence or in tandem. Like, when you get to max level, you don't have to be like, oh, well, now I have to go do this. Like, how did I do it? Oh, I didn't really get into the expansion, into MoP, for a long time, like a really long time.
Yeah, like you had a kid and you just weren't able to play for ages.
Yeah, and I will totally use that excuse if that's what you'll accept. But
well,
but
like,
you know what got me playing?
I get it too though, because like, especially if you can't play right when it comes out, like,
yeah,
it's then 6 months later and you're like, I'm so far behind.
I know, and you're not like running with everybody and experiencing everything for the first time. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of that first day hype stuff that I missed. But what got me back in was the goddamn pet battles, man. Of all things, like I'm sitting there and I'm leveling things using like some stupid grinding guide. Out in, where was I? I was Outland somewhere, I think, or maybe it was a Northern. I can't remember. But I'm just basically running into this spire where these dragons are hanging out at the top, and run out, grind a couple of pets and run in and run out. I don't even know what I was doing, but all I know is I was hooked. Like it was like crack, man. I was all like, get out there and get some pet battles. I could not stop. But that's kind of the joy of World of Warcraft, is that there's so many things that even if you decide you get to the max level or whatever, like I got to max level I think after that, I think. But you get there and then you're like, okay, well I'm done, right? And then later on you're like, oh man, well did I have that thing I never tried? I should go try it real quick. And that could be PvP, that could be obviously any kind of PvE, raids, dungeons, whatever. That could be the Fight Club shit, right? That could be like anything. There's just so much crap that it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's so much in Warlords too. Like people are gonna say, "Oh, here's lore being a community representative." But no, like there's so much in Warlords that I'm just straight up legit excited for. Like skirmishes. Oh my god! Like finally a way to get into arenas when that isn't organize a threes team. Like you just, I don't know how familiar you are with the feature set.
Is skirmishes rated?
It's unranked
okay.
Solo queue arenas.
Yeah, because
or group queue.
Okay, there used to be something like that, like right?
There used to be a feature called skirmishes in the game.
Yeah, okay.
But
okay.
it was just unranked arenas. Was all it was.
Got it.
So you still had to get a group together, and then you could do skirmishes, and like some people were really into them, but it was a very, very small number of people because most people that were doing them were like, I should be doing this. Like I'm winning and losing just as much as I would have if I was playing ranked.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not getting anything for it, so I should just be doing skirmish, or I should just be doing ranked. But so what they're doing when they're bringing the feature back, they're making it so that you can queue as solo if you want, and it'll match you up with people, or you can grab a friend and do you can group with as many people as you want, up to 3 because that's the highest that it goes.
Yeah.
And then it's like battleground-esque rewards for doing it. Obviously scaled back because an arena match takes like 2 minutes and a battleground can take like
25 or 20. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like a similar tier of rewards that you get out of it. So like if you're someone who's always been like, arenas seem interesting, or you're just bored one day, you're like, maybe I'll try a skirmish. Like you can actually do that now instead of having to be like, okay, now if I want to do arenas, I gotta find 2 people to play with. I gotta find out what comps are good. I gotta find out if my spec is viable and all that stuff. So, yeah,
that's the biggest thing I think too. It's like it's people that want to try it, and then it's people that want to try out a new spec, or something. It's always like it's basically a testing grounds, no matter how you want to look at it. But nobody's like, oh man, can't wait to run skirmishes today. Like nobody's gonna be grinding skirmishes all day. It's just not gonna happen. But actually, you know what? I mean, if there's rewards or something, like maybe there would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'll totally do skirmishes just because, like, for gearing up characters, I will totally do skirmishes just because I will feel like if it's especially if it's like a 2v2, I will feel like I can carry my team a lot better than I can in a battleground where maybe there's 14 other people versus carrying one. And like I don't even necessarily like there's less chance of me having to carry in that situation because if the other guy knows how to play his class, and cool, and like it's just gonna be it's quick and easy too is the other thing. Like I can do a skirmish in 5 minutes versus a battleground which I might sit in a queue for ages, especially horde side, because horde side queues are really, really long right now. In NA anyway. So yeah,
it's because of horde number 1, but you know.
Well, it's because it's so funny in Europe, all the PvPers are alliance. In North America, all the PvPers are horde. It is really funny how that just sort of works. It's literally just a factor of, as it grew over time, like the top PvPers in alliance happened to be top PvPers in Europe happened to be alliance. People went alliance and went on their server to play with them, and there's like a couple of servers that are like the PvP server in Europe, and the PvP guilds are all on alliance side because that's where all the PvP guilds were. So whenever somebody wanted to make a new one or they wanted to get into one, that's where they went, and it just sort of grew that way over time. And the same sort of thing happened in North America where everybody's on Tichondria's horde. That's where the PvP is. Used to be a couple other servers, but everyone's pretty much moved over to Tichondrius at this point.
That's true, actually. You know what? Yeah, that's true. I think TYE actually moved up. My old PvP guild went over there. Interesting, huh? Yep. I didn't know that was like the spot. I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's where, like, if you go and you look at BlizzCon, you look at the teams that are playing at BlizzCon, or like the teams that are playing in regionals or whatnot. Every single one of those guys plays on Tichondrius Horde from North America. Every single one of the North America contenders plays on Tichondrius Horde. It's not a server you want to be alliance on. Yeah. Huh. So we're gonna make a threes team in Warlords, right? You, me, someone else,
and someone else that could carry us. I have someone in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, we should. You know, Prot Warrior's getting a DPS spec. Yeah.
I don't even know how that works.
There's a talent you can take that it first of all, it gives your defensive stance like 5% extra damage reduction, which is cool. But it also gives you gladiator stance, which turns like your shield block ability into another charge and like increases your damage by a ton. So like you go into gladiator stance and you're just full, like even the class team, like they're still balancing things. I don't know where exactly it falls at the moment in terms of overall DPS. I think it's a little bit behind right now, but they've been very public. The class team has been very public in that they're like, no, we want this to be a fully viable DPS spec. If you want to DPS using a sword and board setup, this is what you do. And it should be competitive with Arms and Fury, at least to some degree.
That is weird.
It is weird, but it's also really cool.
As a you know, as a S9 Prot Warrior, it's like it's all about outlasting your opponent or griefing them until somebody else shows up, and that's it. And then doing a dance while your opponent, like while your buddy kills them. Yeah. Right. Like that's the whole point. But like actually doing DPS, that sounds crazy to me.
Well, they got rid of Vengeance entirely in Warlords.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't exist, and then they just buffed up tank damage, so tanks deal damage as though they had full Vengeance all the time. And for a little while in the beta, I don't remember exactly. I don't know exactly where all the PvP balance is falling with tanks right now in the beta. But for a little while, like tank specs were just dominating. Like they had to put a debuff in that made tanks take more damage because like it was just you do as much damage as a DPS and you take a tenth of it. So they've been doing a ton of tuning there. But yeah, I'm excited for where tank specs are looking in Warlords, especially like Prot Warriors with the gladiator stance, but even like Prot Paladin or like Blood DK. Blood DKs have always been crazy, but
always. Huh, that'd be interesting.
So yeah, Destiny.
Yeah, so Destiny's a good game.
Ben Kuchera.
Yep. He's the guy who writes stuff.
Yeah. Apparently including like super secret gaming journalism mailing lists.
Yeah, man. Like, this is not a small site that published this particular story, actually.
Yeah, it was like...
When I was reading, I was all like, this sounds so sensational. Like, I have to, like, you know, whatever. And that's the Alexa rating, and it's like, wow, this is a super popular site. And it's not The Onion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Brett Bart or something.
Yeah, BREIT Bart.com. Bright,
yeah.
Brett Bart.
Breitbart?
Yeah, something like that. But it's definitely not a small site. I mean, Alexa traffic rank has it 1100, which is that's huge. That is freaking huge.
Yeah.
So
Gamergate.
Yeah. So I mean, without going into, I know, here we go again. What was that? There was a comment somewhere. I had to pull it up because it was so funny. He says, it's happening, guys, it's happening. Gamergate week 5, they said it was over.
It's like God. That sort of like it's like a boxing match and he's down and the ref is like 5, 4, 3, and he like says 1 and he like is about to go into the motions of he's out and the dude just gets up out of nowhere and he's like, no, I'm good.
Exactly. Now, obviously,
I don't know anything about boxing.
No, that wrestling would have worked a bit better, I think. But there's nothing we're saying right now has anything to do with necessarily the content of it. It's obviously good that the conversation is still happening. It's just the sensationalistic approach to some of the articles that we've seen makes it very difficult now to look at a story that says exposed as its first word and be like, oh God, here we go, right?
Oh God,
and not be
iCloud
like
again.
that. Exactly. Extremely difficult not to approach that and take it with a grain of salt. But it's that everything aside, like all of the, I guess, Gamergate or whatever aside, all of that stuff aside,
everything aside,
the secret mailing list thing, really?
Yeah.
Like you and I Skype back and forth, and you know what? I Skype and email other people in the industry, often. Is that a secret mailing list too?
Yeah, seriously. Like, okay, newsflash: the internet. People go to conventions. People make friends. People make friends at conventions. Bunch of gaming journalists gets together at a convention at some time.
That's why we go.
Yeah, like half the reason that people even go to conventions is like. You're always like, oh yeah, I gotta go there for work, but oh man, hanging out with all those people afterwards is gonna be so awesome. Like, even something like BlizzCon, like I love BlizzCon, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, and it's such an awesome experience, but, like, 70% of that experience is, like, tertiary to the convention itself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited for, nowadays I'm super excited for BlizzCon because I get to be a part of it, and that's really cool.
You get to wear a suit.
I get to wear a suit, yeah. I would like to report to the internet that I actually bought dress shoes and dress socks for this year. So I won't be wearing a full, like, business suit with Converse sneakers and white socks. I'll actually have, like,
wow,
something that looks appropriate. Hey, my feet were never on camera, and they were comfy.
Well, you could just, pants probably weren't on camera either, but you at least wear dress pants.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Just in case I stood up, I guess. But yeah, like a huge part of the convention is just hanging out with the people there.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, like, it's no stretch of the imagination whatsoever to say a bunch of these guys met up with each other after having seen each other at all these conventions all the time and interacted with each other because they're in the same industry, they work together, etc. And then said, hey, you know what? This is a great conversation that we're having about this thing that's important to the industry. We should kick up a mailing list. Easy.
Yeah.
Simple. Straightforward. And it's like, seriously, do you think that, like, any other company in existence is not talking to people from their competitors? And
it's true. I mean, like, so Curse is obviously one of our biggest competitors. But I've made since I've gotten in this position, I've made new friends that work for them in high-ranking positions, mind you. And when we see each other, like, we're always like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" We like talk, we bullshit, we talk shit to each other. Like, but it's like and we just communicate, and it's like it just happens. It doesn't matter if you're competing or if it's assumed that you're gonna be friends. Like I say we because it's true. I go to a lot of conventions. I do talk to a lot of people, but we always communicate. Now, there's a paragraph here actually I want to highlight. The guy writes, he says, Game Journal Pros, which is basically short for Game Journalist Professionals, which is the name of the Google group that they use to communicate, which makes it sound super shady. So sure, we'll say it's shady. The Game Journal Pros emails appear to confirm widely held suspicions that video game journalists operate with one voice and collude on major issues to distort coverage of ethics violations and support figures to whom they are politically sympathetic. So, I will definitely agree that seeing a whole bunch of articles coming out at this exact, almost like within an hour of each other, supporting the exact same thing and using the same verbiage, which is like the gamer is dead or something like that. I can't remember what it was. That was definitely weird. It was definitely weird.
Yeah.
To tie it to this is not unusual. I mean, like, it was weird because it was like, that's kind of strange that they would do all that stuff. But I'm not surprised if they were all communicating. We all have our own beliefs, our own, well, you say beliefs or our own positions on certain things in the industry. And if you read these emails from that position that this guy has, or these guys, I guess, have no matter how shitty you think it is, right? And I'm not saying either way. Obviously, some of it is, some of it isn't, whatever. But they believe in this thing, and they're gonna basically try to convince their friends to be on their side, and that's essentially what you see here.
Yeah, it's just the sort of thing that's going to happen. Like, people are people; they want to talk to other people. Anybody who's in any position where they make public statements is going to want to talk to other people about those public statements before they put them out. Like, yeah. I don't know. It just seems to me like maybe I'm crazy, but I saw this come out and I was like, so like, what? What's the point? What's the point you're trying to make here?
You know, if this didn't come out in the context of the DQ event that occurred over this past month or so, if it didn't come out attached to that, it would not have really gotten traction. Actually, I honestly would think that people would look at it and be like, oh yeah, it's totally like just it's just, you know, some tinfoil hat stuff or whatever. It takes
just obviously
it takes an event like this in order to get people's attention to draw to this particular product, because you could argue definitely that it's a problem that journalists get together and instead of sticking to their guns and posting what they think about a situation, that they're, you know, trying to get other people on board with it, therefore kind of creating this one singular voice across all of the industry. Yeah, that part's dumb, like totally dumb. Like if you have an opinion on something, and you want to, and you're in the position to actually, you know, put that information out, then do it. But
yeah, I don't think that there's evidence to suggest that that's what's going on in this case, though. Like, sure, they're talking to each other, but is there any reason for us to believe that, like, someone at some point in this, like, mailing list hierarchy said, okay, everybody, this is what we're reporting for this? Or is it just a bunch of people who have this thing and they're sort of talking about it as they're trying to gather their own thoughts and they're asking other people their opinions?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I think it's totally fine to ask someone an opinion. I think it's totally fine to be like, so this whole DQ thing is going on and people are saying this and other people are saying this. I don't know, what do you guys make of this? What's going on here? And that's like something that a good journalist would be doing, because obviously they want to see if anybody else has like some extra information that they don't know about or something, because they want to be as accurate as possible with their reporting. And they also like it's good to have peer review just in general.
Yeah.
I think if this is the sort of thing where then someone like ringleader Ben Kuchera then comes down from on high and says, okay, everybody, this is the verbiage we're putting out everywhere on this. This is what we've agreed on. Or even if it's just something where they come to some consensus after a vote or something, even that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But if it's literally just a mailing list where a bunch of journalists talk about things that is related to their work, then I have no issue with that whatsoever.
Yeah, of course. Like, and people they're going to bounce ideas off it. And here's the funny thing too, is that a lot of these guys, you know, probably in some form or another, maybe even worked together. You know, like there's a lot of that going on. I mean, let's look at this podcast, for example, right? Like you and I worked together before you worked for Blizzard. Look at Scott Hawks. Scott Hawks is basically in charge of everything you see editorial-wise from Riot. He used to work with me in several different situations. So it's like we all at some point in time have really like touched each other in some way.
I just found out the other day, like it's crazy the amount of connections that I just sort of discovered that I have because I talked to somebody once, or like so for example, I just discovered a couple of weeks ago, because she like sent me a Facebook request or something, that one of the people who was a very heavy blogger on TankSpot around the time that Cider Helm and I first started doing our TankSpot podcast there, which was sort of the precursor to the Weekly Marmot.
Mm-hmm.
One of those blog writers is now like in charge of social media at Riot or something, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How did like? What a small world sort of thing. And even like the connections that I've made with people at Blizzard in the past like year and a couple of months that I've been there that have then moved on elsewhere. Like I used to work really closely with the guy who is now like head of PR for, or at least heavily involved in PR for the Xbox One. Like these are People move on. I used to work really closely with Greg Street. Now he's at Riot. So, yeah.
That's another great example, right? I mean, it's everywhere. Now again, reminder, all the controversial stuff aside from the fact that this list exists, do not be surprised that lists like this exist.
Yeah.
And just remember that they're not so much lists as they are a group of people that get together, not necessarily to like collude and create like some kind of weird conspiracy for everything that comes out. While that could happen, it could be something that happens where it's like, hey guys, so this thing's happening. Maybe we should take a spin like this. Don't be surprised that this type of this channel exists. If you read through the emails or whatever that was sent through this secret list and you don't agree with them, then or you do agree with them, whatever, then take it for the content in which it is, and obviously whether or not you know that it's true, that it's actually legit, and not like something that was thrown together. That's totally up to you as well.
Yeah, I think it's just important to look at it from a very what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it right now. But looking at it from the perspective of people are going to make friends and talk to other people. Like, it's just going to happen. No matter, like, I think a lot of people just in general in all sorts of situations expect that people in the media or game developers or whatever sort of side you want to fight for, whatever sort of like, oh, I always read, I don't know, the BBC, so I hate CNN and I will never look at CNN. There's probably somebody at BBC that knows someone from CNN, like used to work together, good friends, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably exists. Like, people are people. They make friendships. You should never expect that no one's talking to each other, sort of thing. Like, that's silly. And so then, like, looking at something like this situation, like, yeah, okay, sure, this mailing list exists. Great. The argument seems to have gone, this mailing list exists, therefore corruption, in this sort of like A leads directly to B with no possible other options situation. Yeah. It's like, wait, what?
Corruption exists here the same way that it would be if you were to find out that two people in opposing or maybe in two different major competing sites are friends on Skype.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I have Skype contacts that are, I don't know. Well, I still have, like, I think I still have Scott Hawks on my Skype list, so I have a Riot employee on my Skype list. Does that mean that corruption? No, it just means that I have his contact information.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I have so many people, I don't even know where to begin, but that's just the way that it happens. Like, we all communicate. Don't does not necessarily mean that everything we communicate about is conspiracy. But it also doesn't mean, that, I mean, it's true. It doesn't mean that some of the conversation does lead to something that could be construed as conspiracy, tinfoil hat, whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. There will be corruption as well as a part of things, and maybe there even is some in this situation. I don't know. I just don't think looking at it from the perspective of this mailing list exists, therefore corruption is a viable argument.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Well, good.
No. No. I don't have an argument for that, though. So I'll just say yes now.
So speaking of corruption, I don't really know. Well, I guess sort of.
What's that?
Do you want to talk about this space-based DF9 thing?
I mean, yeah, a little bit, because it's something that plays into what's going on right now with, or not to say right now, but what's been going on for the past couple years. I would say like 2.5 years. Early access has been a thing that people have been like, especially some of us in the industry. It's like, hey, be careful. But it doesn't matter because people will see a game that's hot and they'll buy it, and it's like, oh, this game's not finished, and that's pretty much it.
Like kickstarting something.
Kickstarting. Desura actually had alpha funding. They were the first ones actually to come up with all that stuff, and so you were actually able to buy into a game that was very, very, very early. And I've actually done a couple indie for breakfasts on games that were super, super early. I want to say I actually called them like indie before breakfast or something. Like there was something. Yeah. I gave it like a name because it was like so early, like I couldn't even qualify.
I think it was indie before breakfast.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, these are games that going into it that they're not finished, and you have to keep in mind that on the back end is somebody that is probably working a full-time job and coding stuff in his in his spare time. And what happens if that person has a kid?
Yeah.
Or gets a girlfriend.
Or just decides they don't love this anymore.
It's gone. So Space-Based DF9, this one kind of came across my radar because somebody sent it to me. It was like, hey, this looks like something you would totally be into. And it is. It's kind of like this, a little bit of like management in space type thing, right? Just to be really vague with it. I've actually not had the opportunity to play it beyond just getting in and just, playing around for like 5 minutes. But I could see that's a game I would totally be into. This guy gifted it to me, which is super cool because now I don't feel like I'm out money, right? But and then he apologized to me on Twitter, and I felt like super bad. I was like, no, dude, like don't worry about it, don't worry about it. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to know that when you buy into these things, it could potentially like go up in flames. The Space-Based DF9 definitely did that. They were on like their 6th update with alpha. And then they posted, they put up a post like this week, I believe, saying it was like the road to 1.0. And if you read it just alone, without like knowing the history, you're like, oh, that's cool. The game's releasing. There's gonna be a Lua involved, and like they're gonna basically release the code and everything, the source code, so you could go through and do just unlimited modding essentially. You could look at it like, oh, hey, that's really great. But the reality is, like, it's totally not. Like, this game is not done by a long shot.
Alpha release 6 was not, like, basically ready to go.
Exactly. So the thing that makes this kind of an even bigger deal than maybe some of the other, because this does happen. And usually it's a lot quieter. They'll just stop updating. They won't be like 1.0. Sure. They'll stop. Yeah,
it'll be some indie dev who totally completely means to keep working on it, but I've just been busy the past few weeks, and I'm having troubles. I had to pick up a second job. I haven't really had time to get to it, and then eventually they just stop updating the page. Or somebody will come out with some early access thing, and 20 people will buy it, and then the guy will go, well, this isn't worth my time, and quit. So yeah, like most of the time it's either on a very small scale, or it just sort of falls off gradually. Or it's Prison Architect, which has been in early access for like $1 million for like 12 years.
And it was totally worth that $30 initially. I can't imagine, like now it's definitely worth that $30, even some of the stingiest.
It was on sale for $10, and I still thought it was too much. I didn't pick it up.
Man, it's just, yeah, you have to be into that kind of, and that's actually kind of what like Space DF9 felt like it would be, that level of like management. But the thing that really kind of like strikes me on this is that it's Double Fine.
Yeah, that's the DF in Space-Based DF9. Freaking Tim Schafer, Double Fine. But I don't know that he was directly involved.
Of course, yeah. I mean, Double Fine has actually grown into obviously a pretty decent. It's hard to really call them indie anymore. Like
ever since they kickstarted for like $3 bajillion.
Yeah, I think it was actually like 2 million, or something like that. But at the time, it was like the largest amount of money that anybody got.
I was using the metric system.
Oh, there you go. But it's one of those things that you look at they're doing. It's not just, so I went digging, right? And it's not just DF9 that's doing this, but it's also Hack and Slash, this other game that they have going, right? That is, next month it's going to 1.0. Obviously not as early as DF9, but still, it's going 1.0 like next month or maybe I think it is like this month. We know that Costume Quest 2 is out like next month or something. Massive Chalice, which I actually had an opportunity to see demoed at PAX at a bar of all places, is definitely drawing to a close. It's wrapped. It looks really, really good. It's a turn-based strategy, kind of like XCOM, I believe.
Right on.
And then Broken Age is supposed to be out before the end of the year.
Yeah. So Broken Age has been like going in chapters or something already, hasn't it? Or am I thinking of something else? I might be thinking of something else.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure. But basically, everything is winding down. They're wrapping up everything before the end of, it seems like, before the end of 2014. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, what are they like? Are they getting acquired? Or are they like wrapping up everything because like
Microsoft's gonna buy them too.
that's exactly where I was going. It's just really strange. And you know, this guy, this thread I found links to this this guy who's a photographer or something, but he posted a picture of the Double Fine guys like sitting down in a room like watching something. I don't know what it was. Tim Schafer and a couple other guys are holding a beer. But they all look like they're happy. And the tweet reads, "Cryptic clue for clever Double Fine fans to figure for the future. Hashtag new projects." And with the sudden drop of space-based DF9, which totally sucks because it looks like it'd be such a promising game. And then of course Hack and Slash is wrapping up, and everything else is wrapping up. Like what is like what is this next big thing? I have no conclusion to this. I have absolutely no idea if like it's gonna come out that Microsoft is buying them up, and then the next story is gonna be Microsoft is buying up all these big indie devs. You know, I don't know if that's a thing.
I almost wonder if like Tim Schafer is starting to get some like Peter Molyneux syndrome or something, where you just have too many good ideas. And you're always like, this is the best idea I've ever had. I gotta drop everything and work on this idea. Okay, Black and White 2 sucked. Okay, next big idea. Okay, Spore was kind of next big idea sort of thing.
This could be the greatest experience of your life.
Yeah, it's gonna be an experience. It's not really a game, it's an experience. Gone Home 2.
Home again. No, I don't know. I'm playing.
Gone out for a smoke.
It's basically, I mean, I bring up all the other stuff because going through the Steam forums and just digging around and everything. Like, I mean, you go to the Steam forums for DF9, and every thread people are pissed, and they're actually quoting them. Saying that they actually had an interview or something where they said that they were not going to be here it is. Double Fine is not a random fly-by-night indie dev, and we're not going to silently pull the plug on a space or any other in-development project. Doing so would be disastrous for our reputation, and it would kill us emotionally.
So instead, they're going to very publicly pull the plug.
Exactly. It's like, okay, yeah. Like technically, sure, but it's just the whole thing is just weird, and part of me kind of feels like let's just go the tinfoil hat route, right?
Right.
I have no tinfoil near me, but let's just go that route and look at Microsoft spending a ton of money on Minecraft. We know that Microsoft in the 360 had a very robust indie selection. Doesn't necessarily mean the quality was there, because it was basically whatever they could take. And in the current...
Slightly better than Ouya is about where you'd peg it.
Right, yeah. Current generation, though, it definitely feels like PS4 is kind of getting a little bit more of the indie love, right? Yeah. With like Towerfall and like, even Warframe is considered indie. Like, there's just a ton of indie games. Maybe that's like what Microsoft's big plan is. They're just gonna go and buy all of the biggest indie devs that are out there, and Double Fine would definitely qualify as a large indie dev. Obviously, not quite as big as Mojang, but still impressive. And just absorb them and all their properties and everything, and just to build. Like, they're like, fuck it, I'll buy the indie, the indie base.
Yeah. It's definitely very thought-provoking. Well, and it's interesting too, like, we've seen a lot of developers recently, like, so a lot of things tie into this too. Like, there's been all the developer hate lately, which is something that's sort of started to reach a boiling point, with especially like Twitter campaigns start where it's like, no, we love game devs and we're sorry that people are dicks to you guys all the time, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, people like calling game developers at home and complaining at them about balance for ages, and it's like, how does this even happen? But like, what was the guy's name? There was somebody there. Okay, my thoughts are all over the place at the moment. I'm trying to organize them so I can actually form sentences. So Notch actually posted on his blog not too long ago about why he was leaving Mojang, which basically the whole reason he gave was, I don't want to do this. That was about it. It was like a whole bunch of I never really wanted to make something as massive as Minecraft has turned out to be. I just like to make games. I just want to make little games that no one really cares about, and if I make another game that people start caring about, I will probably abandon the project immediately, sort of thing. Because it's like the sort of public eye, he didn't really want that. And there was some other studio last year sometime, I'm trying to remember, but it made a whole lot of news at the time because they laid off like 70% of their staff or something. And the guy in charge, I don't remember who it was. Guy in charge was like, no, we want to be a small studio. We want to be able to focus on little things instead of being so massive about stuff.
Oh,
I can't remember what studio that was.
I know. It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, crap. It was a pretty big game too, obviously.
Yeah. It was right after something had come out, and I just can't remember what game it was.
I just talked about it too. I feel like 3 months ago.
Yeah. And now like Double Fine is like basically pulling the plug on a bunch of projects or throwing them to the wolves or however you want to put it. It makes me wonder if we're reaching a point now where game developers are fed up with people being dicks to them all the time, and they just want to be able to focus on their little projects that they want to work on instead of trying to like be big major companies. I don't know. It's interesting.
That's totally possible. I mean, that Notch letter, like when you read it, it's just kind of like, damn. You know that he's going through stuff. Like, go through and look at the tweets at him, man. Like, people are furious. And when you have like, was it 1.7 million or whatever he has? Like, he's got almost a couple million people following him, I believe. And he's just a dude who made a game. He made a couple games, but I mean, he made one game that basically got huge. That's a lot for one person to really to support. I mean, that's a lot, man.
Irrational Games. It was Ken Levine and Irrational Games after BioShock Infinite. I had to look it up by typing every related word I could think of into Google.
I'm so happy. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, they were like,
BioShock Infinite came out, did amazingly, and then it was like 4 months later, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, no, we're going down to 15 employees, and that's it, or 15 developers. I guess they would have still like probably some support staff as well, but. Yeah.
But still, no, totally, that's right. That's absolutely right. God, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But
well, and even like it's something that you see internally at a lot of companies. Like Hearthstone, for example, at Blizzard is a team of, I think they're up to like 21 people total, counting their like community support and like PR and like just entirely the number of people who are assigned to Hearthstone is actually they just picked up a couple more people, so it's probably closer to 25.
Yeah,
now
some
at
community
this point.
people or something, right?
Yeah. Well, there's they picked up actually just picked up Reels as a developer, which is super cool. He's a guy who's been in the WoW PvP scene for a long time and now into Hearthstone as well. Yeah. And so they picked him up as a designer. And they got, I work with the guy, I can't remember his name. Robert Wing is in community for Hearthstone now. He was from BlizzPro, I believe. But yeah, they picked up a couple of people, but there's still 25 people entirely. Like the WoW development team is, if you look at just Team 2, which is the number association for WoW, it's like 250 people or something. Like, it's crazy the number of people on just the development team, and then the support staff, so like community, marketing, PR, etc. It's got to be close to like 300, 400 people that are working on WoW.
Yeah, that makes sense. It totally makes sense.
But it's the sort of thing you, like I say, you even see inside of a company. Was at some point the Hearthstone team was formed from some people that were kind of working on WoW, some people that were kind of working on Diablo. Like they were just developers from around the company eventually said, you know what? We've got this idea for this game. I believe it was Ben Brode and Eric Dodds who are the lead developers on the thing. They actually at one point just said, we'd like to make this. We have this idea for this other game. We'd like to make it. And they pitched it to the executives, and the execs were like, yes, this sounds like a good idea. And so they just made a new team, which is it's kind of a similar process. It's inside of a company,
yeah,
but it's kind of a similar process to like the Ken Levine thing, an Irrational Games thing, where they're like, no, we want to slim down to this small team so we can come up with some great idea and work on that. And in Hearthstone's case, they were able to develop it in a way that allowed them to stay at a small team, which is super cool. So I don't know why I told that entire story, but it's something that happens all the time.
It's basically the example of using such a small team that develops such a huge game is actually a really good kind of parallel to draw to obviously a much larger scale with Notch, because Notch ended up being the guy, even though there was lots of people working on it at the time. It said Notch and the other co-founders left. I don't know who those guys are.
Yeah.
But I know Notch, and that's the thing. Like, he ended up being the face of the company. And in like Hearthstone's case, the face of the company is, you could say it's tough to say with Hearthstone. Cuz for me it's Zarya, like Christina Sims.
Yeah.
Like, she's the face of the company for me, cuz she's the one that I've communicated with the most. But it's interesting going from studio to studio and the size and everything, like who ends up being the face. But I'm willing to bet that there's not a billion people out there emailing Zarya and saying, hey, this card's OP, you're dumb, get good, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like looking at Hearthstone, it would be Christina or it would be Ben Brode would be the two people that I think people would be most likely to rage at. I know that when Hearthstone was in beta and keys were flying around, I used to get myself in trouble by just messaging her the word beta every once in a while. She really enjoyed it when I was reminding her that existed. Yeah. But yeah, that's sort of what happens. Like up until Ghostcrawler left Blizzard, he was sort of the face of WoW to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
I hate this boss encounter. God damn it, Ghostcrawler.
I know, everything was his fault. Every single thing was his fault.
I don't like how this piece of gear looks. God damn it, Ghostcrawler.
The thing is, and I have like an immense amount of respect for this guy, to the point where he kind of makes me nervous sometimes when I'm around him, right? Is that he is able to handle this stuff in a way that most people can't. He gets bombarded with stuff left and right for a game he doesn't even support anymore, right? He gets bombarded with stuff still, and he's willing to dish it out and give it right back. Even when he was an employee, he would still on Twitter dish it back to people, and it was one of those things. It's so respectable.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to strike too, because it's really, really easy to dish it out to the wrong person. And then, whoops, it turns out they had a point, and now you just look like an ass. So, like, it's a tough balance to strike, and he did it very, very well, and I miss him.
Aww.
I miss when he used to do 90% of my job for me.
Yeah.
Well, not right now, because as we were talking about earlier, I live at work making videos, and he wasn't making videos ever. So, yeah.
Yeah. Making them Crash Courses.
Yeah.
What a great name for a series.
It's a name that was very deliberately chosen because there is very little actual information in it. It's like, here's these 5 spells, use those until you figure out the rest of them. That's basically it. And like, that's the 100% the point, was to give people a starting point and not a, like, here's how to be good at this class. Like, at the end of it, like, if you watch a Crash Course and at the end of it you say, I don't feel like I've really mastered this class now at this point, I'm like, good. The point is to give you a starting point, not a, like, not a complete course. It's a crash course. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not multiple semesters. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a good show format. It's something that I might use sometime. Just saying, just throwing it out there. Good, it's a good one. But
are you gonna make Destiny DB crash courses now? Is that what it's gonna be? Here's how to play a Warlock. All right. So there really only are 4 buttons.
I actually considered it, because I did have like the insanely popular Warframe crash courses that I did.
Yeah.
But
to be clear, your Warframe crash courses were 3,000 times more detailed than anything I'm doing for a while.
Oh no, yeah, it's funny. That's actually what I was gonna touch on. Like, it's funny how you call it a crash course, and then when you put those videos out, I watch it and I was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. It's like, it's kind of like the intro video that should be played when you start a new class you've never played that class before.
If we had the technology to play them in the client, we probably would.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. And it's and to see the comments, it's all like, what the fuck? They didn't cover anything. It's like, it's a crash course. Like, so what else do you want them to cover?
Yeah. This is intended, like, it's literally, when we sat down, we were figuring out what the scope for them was. It's literally like, okay, someone just boosted a character, or is considering boosting a character, but feels like they don't understand where to even start. Okay, so here's the 5 spells that you need. Now you can kill quest mobs.
Yeah. But why didn't you teach me how to raid? What about my rotation? What's my rotation when I hit level 5?
You're bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
those were some words. I feel like we talked about WoW for half of this, and it wasn't even like on the list.
We talked about Destiny. We talked about like, you know what? And this is a real talk here, right? Like, we definitely touch on some controversial subjects. Sometimes I wonder, like, if people are going to only hear part of that.
Yeah.
Or if they don't, like, if they're not, if because we're not using this podcast as some kind of activist, channel for whatever it is that you support, we're the bad guy. And like, we just want to talk about shit and expose certain things that are, in this case, kind of underlying, that you shouldn't be surprised about, because we experience it from day to day. But I don't know about you, Laura, but I can't get involved in the other stuff. I have too much shit to do right now.
Yeah. I think that there are, I don't know. I think there's some things that there are certainly situations in which if you don't do anything, or you ignore an issue, then you are supporting one side or the other.
Yeah.
But that's like the biggest thing in those cases is like spreading information and making sure that people are aware, which I think we do fairly well on here.
Yeah,
so.
I think the conversation that people are having is good.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
it's the sort of thing that, like, I don't remember what exact issue it was that I was talking about a while ago on Twitter, but I said something along the lines of, if you're tired of hearing about this, the best way to stop hearing about it is to make it stop happening, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember that tweet. It's pretty spot on. Absolutely spot on.
The whole point is to make people tired of hearing about important issues, because they're important issues and people need to hear about them. And until they get tired of hearing about them, they're not going to actually do anything. And even if all you can really do about certain issues is continue to spread that information, then it's just food for thought.
The more people know, then the louder we are about stuff. We bring stuff up, and while we may not talk about whatever the issue, whatever the hot button topic is directly, it doesn't necessarily mean that we haven't already talked about it in the past. Like, obviously we've mentioned this like in almost every podcast at some point, in some degree. But it's good to have to introduce this, to introduce hot button issues to people who didn't know that it was even an issue to begin with.
Yep.
And those people are definitely out there.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel better.
Yeah. Good.
So
It
that's
is 82 degrees in here. I haven't had the fan on because it makes noise. I really need to turn the fan on.
Or get a
I might
haircut.
die.
You should just get a haircut.
Nah, I'll just turn the fan on.